Hey, what is going on, guys? I'm Bailey, back with another video, and today I want to talk about a very small console that Sony came out with a few years ago that I actually have right here. Not so much to talk about it because it's rare or anything. It actually isn't particularly rare, and you can pick one up for about $50 on eBay, and I'm going to explain why that might be an awesome opportunity for you guys to play a lot of games that maybe you couldn't otherwise play, and also why this thing exists in the first place, and why ultimately it was a huge flop. So a handful of years ago, there were some micro consoles coming out. They were Android based, and they would allow you to play games you otherwise played on your phone on your TV. They were like the Ouya, the Game Stick. They raised a ton of money on Kickstarter. Then when they actually came out, they were really cheap, crappy systems that nobody ended up playing. And some people probably have Ouyas just sitting in their closet because they sold a ton of them. They just weren't able to make very much money on them. The margin was awful because they were so cheap, and yet at the same time, very cheaply made. Sony, I think, decided that they wanted to do something like this, and they created the PlayStation TV. Again, this is a tiny system. I mean, it literally fits in the palm of my hand, but basically this was marketed, in my opinion, as a marketer, very poorly. The idea of this that they kind of came out and said it was for was you could have a PlayStation 4 in your house, then you could hook this up to a different TV, and then you could play your PlayStation 4 games on another TV that the PlayStation 4 isn't connected to. I think that was called Remote Play. Sony had done it with the PlayStation 3, and they wanted to implement it with the PlayStation 4 and make it be more prominent with this device right here. Now, the other thing it could do was it could play PlayStation Now, which was the PlayStation streaming service. So I could have paid a subscription fee or maybe like a rental fee to play certain games and have them streamed onto this device. So in the same way that you watch movies on Netflix and you don't actually have the Netflix movie on your hard drive of whatever you're watching Netflix on, the game would not be on this hard drive, but it would be streamed onto this system through the internet. And unlike when you're watching a movie and the movie's just playing, when you're playing a game and it's interacting back and forth, there's a lot of back and forth action going on, and unless you had insanely fast internet, that ran terribly on here. And that was kind of how they marketed it. You could use PlayStation Now, and you could play your PlayStation 4 on it, because I think that they wanted it to appeal to like a hardcore audience, that they could play on some other devices. But the reality, the real thing that this really does, and it does well, is it plays PS Vita games. I don't know if you guys can read right there, but it says PS Vita on the side. You can actually put a PS Vita game chip. It's kind of like an SD card, what the games came on, or even if you think of like a DS cartridge type thing, if I could get it out here. So I got Persona 4 Golden in there right now. So it just kind of loads into the side, and while it didn't have compatibility with every PS Vita game, it had compatibility with a fair amount of them. The reason why it wasn't compatible with all of them was because the PS Vita does have a touchscreen, so any game that required you to use a touchscreen, it couldn't play, because obviously you're playing this on your TV again, so there is no touchscreen. It could also play the original PSP games and PlayStation 1 games, all of which you could download from the store. Now, the real catch, and I think the thing that really killed this, was not only the fact that it was poorly marketed, because that definitely killed it, it was, for the people that understood it like me, the memory is what killed it. Sony uses these, unique proprietary memory cards. This is the PS Vita one that came with my system when I got it. It is an 8 GB. Now, I can tell you, like, Persona 4 Golden alone, had I have downloaded that and not got it on the game card, it would have been like 3 GB, and I have an 8 GB card, so that card's going to fill up right away. Now, I can't buy a game card for everything. PSP game, obviously, I'd have to download if I wanted to play it. A PS1 game, I'd have to download if I wanted to play it. So there's not game cards available for those. Thus, I'm stuck sticking it on the memory card. Now, the problem with the memory card was, because it was Sony's unique proprietary memory card, it wasn't just a regular SD card, they're extremely expensive. Like a 64 GB memory card for this will run you like $100. Now, keep in mind, I didn't tell you yet, I had mentioned that it was $50 you could buy this on eBay today. I paid about $60 for this not long after it came out, and that was because I bought it at Toys R Us when my Toys R Us was closing. But the reality is, I believe this MSRP'd at $99, and then when they were trying to get rid of them because it was such a flop, you could actually pick one up at GameStop for $20. So a dramatically inexpensive system, yet you couldn't actually play many games on it that you wanted to download because the storage space was so small. So my system actually came with that 8GB memory card that you saw, and it came with a DualShock 3 controller, which was pretty neat because that was the PlayStation 3 controller. It's also compatible with the DualShock 4, which is the PlayStation 4 controller. So it had some nice compatibility there, and you know, at the time when I bought this a handful of years ago, to get a PlayStation 3 controller and only pay $60 for the whole system, well, the PlayStation 3 controller was already like half the money right there, and then you threw in the memory card, and it was like I got the system for free, you know, as opposed to buying those items individually. So I'm trying to get back into playing this. The reason being is some people on eBay have actually started selling basically an SD card adapter. So it's an adapter that you insert into the game cartridge slot as opposed to, you know, having Persona 4 Golden in there like right now. And then I can plug an SD card in, use that as a memory card instead. So I can get like a 64GB SD card for like $30, then add in the adapter for like another $5. And all of a sudden I just saved a massive amount of money over spending $100 on a 64GB memory card. And now I think I'm going to get into playing this a little bit more, just simply because I can actually get more games for it. There's a lot of PlayStation 1 games that I've always wanted to play, but I've never wanted to track down the discs. I don't own a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4, so my only shot at playing them digitally is through something like this. So I just think it's going to be a really awesome system. Plus, I never owned a Vita, and there were a lot of great Vita games, Persona 4 being one of them, and I haven't got a chance to finish that yet, but I've been working my way through playing it. I've also been working on playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth, which was a downloadable only game from the PlayStation Store. I don't think it had physical copies, at least. It actually might have, but I downloaded that on here, and I've been playing that as well. So I really do enjoy this little system, and you know, if you got like $50 laying around, this might be worth actually spending it on as opposed to, say, buying a full retail release game for your PlayStation 4. So it's worth checking out. I will say that on eBay, I'm not quite sure, you know, when I say $50 in the neighborhood of there, what that comes bundled with. Like I said, when I bought mine, it came with a memory card and a DualShock 3. You're going to need a DualShock 3 or a DualShock 4, and you're also going to want to have some form of memory card, whether you go the route that I did and find the adapter and then put in an SD card, or if you just get, you know, a very small PlayStation, you know, 1 or 4 8GB proprietary memory card. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my spiel on the PlayStation TV. I think this is a great little system, and you know, just something nice to have around because there are a lot of games on this that I did not get to play, and they're great games that if you're into RPGs, you definitely don't want to miss out on. So thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next one.